What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. I am so excited about today's episode. It's a beautiful day, so hopefully your day is going great because mine absolutely is. Before we get started with this episode, I wanted to remind you all, in case you have not yet heard, that the 2019 gardening season is beginning November 8th. That is right. The seed store, the 2019 seed store, is going to be open November 8th for shopping to begin. So you don't want to miss it. And in case you don't want to miss it, make sure to set your reminder to either check Facebook or YouTube, because at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be going live on both YouTube and Facebook and possibly even Instagram, but that's not a guarantee. If we can get enough people to coordinate that, we will try to Instagram as well, but guaranteed we'll be live on Facebook as well as YouTube, broadcasting the 2019 seed launch party. So we always have done this. It's been a ton of fun and it's always really well received. We give away some free stuff, some gift cards, just a bunch of great, cool, fun stuff to get people excited about the next gardening season. And for those of you that are still confused about what's going on, you're probably new to this channel. Welcome, by the way. We're going to have this available all throughout 2019. So it starts November 8th, but it goes into 2019, and you're not missing anything. We have a seed store that sells heirloom, organic, and non-GMO vegetable seeds for just 99 cents a pack. And we have over 460 varieties this year. It's a ton of fun to do. We absolutely love it, and it's just a great way to get you all inexpensive seeds to get your gardens growing better. So that's really what this is all about. And it also helps fund this show that keeps these videos and this content coming to help you grow a better garden and just have more fun doing it. So thank you guys for your support. Hopefully we'll see you all November 8th. Get excited. It's going to be an incredible, incredible year this year. So on with the episode. What are we talking about today? Well, we're going to be talking about how to bring your plants indoors. Why would you want to do this? Why would you want to bring plants indoors? Well, the biggest reason is because they're not perennial, or they're not perennial in your area. They die. This is really pertinent to like northern zones. If you live somewhere where you never get a frost or a freeze, you probably don't have to do this. But when it comes to us here in Michigan, we can't grow oranges or citruses outdoors year round. So we really do this a lot with our citruses, but we've done this in the past with even things like peppers and herbs. Rosemary, great example. We love rosemary. Lemongrass, it was so big that it could not really have been moved inside very easily. So unfortunately this died, but lemongrass doesn't survive. Peppers, rosemary, they don't survive either. They can tolerate cool weather, they can tolerate even maybe some cold weather, but they don't love it and they don't do the best. So the only way to get them to survive is to throw them inside. And we always get this question about how to do it successfully. So I figured I'd walk you guys through step by step how to do it. And I'm really excited about that because I don't think we've ever done it before. But there's really important steps to take so you do it successfully. The first step is make sure that you reduce watering. Obviously, you have it in a container. If you don't have it in a container and it's in the ground, you're going to be digging it up and placing it in a container. So by default, it's going to be in a container. If you reduce your watering, you're going to have a much better success rate because of the fact that when you move your plants indoors, they don't have the ability to evaporate water as fast. These container walls here don't allow airflow through. The only thing evaporating is the soil surface, meaning that if you have watered this really well, there's not the wind that is found outside. There's not the sun exposure that is found outside. Also, the container, like I said, is not breathable, so it doesn't wick away moisture. It's contained right here. And that means that there's a much higher chance of root rot if you keep this plant really well watered when it's moved indoors. So prior to moving it indoors, about 2 or 3 weeks prior, it's really important to just cut the watering. Now, if you have not done this, that's not a problem. It's just a tip for next year. It doesn't mean you're going to have failure. It's just a better way to increase your chance of success, that's all. So just decrease the watering. I don't water it at all until it's ready to be moved indoors. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you do not do a lot of uppotting or transplanting. When you move it, it's actually smart to either downsize the pot or keep it exactly the same. One of the worst things you can do is say, well, all right, I'm moving it indoors, time to transplant it. it does not like that at all. The time to transplant it would be in the spring when it's ready to grow again. This plant is actually ready to slow its growth, and it will start doing that just based on how little sun is left in the sky. The angle of the sun is lower, the temperatures are cooler. The plant naturally will slow down, and especially when it gets moved indoors. You don't want it growing really fast indoors because that's not a great place to grow, just because there's not enough sunlight and there's just not enough good growable conditions indoors to sustain a lot of growth. The next thing, coming in close, this is a very important step because it relates to pests. One of the biggest questions we get, and one of the most frequent concerns that people have is, well, if I'm bringing my plant indoors, aren't I going to be bringing in a lot of pests that come indoors as well? And the answer is yes, absolutely. You bring in fungus gnats, which are the biggest one. You bring in aphids, which are the second biggest one. You'll bring in white flies, spider mites. It's bound to happen. You might even bring in spiders and ants. You could even bring in tiny little mosquitoes and flies. It's just endless the amount of pests you can bring in, and I've seen them all in my house. Trust me, Mrs. MIgardener has seen them all due to our little citrus forest. So you'll bring them in. The problem is not having them. It's when they get out of control because they don't have the natural predators like they do outdoors. Aphids might have things like ladybugs that take care of them naturally. Whiteflies might have things like ladybugs or lacewings or things like that are just natural predators. They can take hold a lot faster indoors and become a problem. So how do we get rid of them? Well, the first problem that will answer almost all of them besides ants. Ants, I'm going to answer first because it's really easy. All you want to do is just take a tray, put them in a shallow dish, and then take a mixture of borax and water and put them, just basically make a moat. Elevate the tray or elevate the plant so that when they crawl out, they really don't have anywhere to go. They're going to be forced to stay right there. Since they don't have any food and they can't travel any further than this spot right here, they're going to starve. And they'll only last about, if they fall into the borax and water, they're going to die, so that kills those ones there. But if they have no food in here, they'll only last about 2 or 3 weeks without any food at all, and they'll starve. So that really ends the ant problem. I just like to take maybe some tiny little bricks or whatever you have to elevate them so the plant isn't in the borax solution. You don't want the plant in the borax solution, that'll kill it, but that's how we get rid of the ants. Now, when it comes to things like aphids, spider mites, fungus gnats, things like that, those are the biggest problem facing you as a gardener bringing plants indoors, and there's an even simpler solution for those. So coming in close, check this out, because I'm going to prep up this Australian finger lime that we're adding to our collection, and I got to get it prepped to go indoors, so let's check it out. Okay, it is literally as simple as this. You want to get yourself some sand. Any sand will work. Beach sand is free if you have a beach locally and you can take the sand from it. If not, you can buy a 50-pound bag at any hardware store for like $2 or $3. Very inexpensive. It does not have to be any specific type of sand. What I do like to do is give it a quick rinse to rinse any sediment or silt that I don't want in there. So it's just pure sand. Most sand that you're going to get from a hardware store has been rinsed. It's rinsed sand anyways, so that's pretty clean, but like beach sand might have some sediment or oil residues that I just don't want in there, so I'd wash them and rinse them pretty well, and that solves all those problems. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to mulch the base of this plant. It's really this simple, honestly. So what the sand is going to do is it's going to create a protective barrier that the fungus gnats and aphids can't lay eggs in the soil. They overwinter in the soil. Fungus gnats lay their eggs in the ground and they eat organic material. The problem is that they also will eat plant roots, and that will then cause your plant to not have as much access to water and nutrients and oxygen, and therefore the plant starts to die and it is much easier to be diseased and stressed. So all we're doing is just putting about no less than a 1/4 inch and no more than a 1/2 inch of sand. This means that this really, once this dries, because it's a little damp because I rinsed it out just to make sure there was no sediment or any oils or anything in there, But once this dries, it's going to be really powdery. You can see some of this stuff here, obviously this drier stuff. It's going to be really coarse, okay? It's really, really coarse. They cannot burrow through this. They're not strong enough to burrow through that layer, and therefore they're going to simply stop because they can't get through this layer of sand, meaning they can't access the soil layer, which is where they'd lay their eggs. This is the most important part, and this will completely wipe out any pest problems that you have. That's one of the nice things about this, is that water still goes through this. You can still fertilize with a liquid fertilizer through this. Heck, you could still peel this back, fertilize with an organic granular fertilizer, push it back, and you can still water this just fine. And the nicest thing is that once spring comes back around, you're going to top this off with more soil. You're going to transplant it into a bigger pot. It doesn't do any harm to have this sand in here whatsoever. It only has positive effects. So make sure you do this. It is one of the most critical steps to bringing your plants indoors. Okay, so now we're down to the last few tips here to bringing your plants indoors successfully. The next most important tip that I cannot stress enough is make sure you have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're going to guaranteed have plants that are going to be stressed and die. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people bring their plants in and they're like, I don't know where I'm gonna put them. I didn't really think about this prior. I'm just gonna hope for the best. If you hope for the best, you're going to fail. Let's just be perfectly honest. You cannot be unconfident with where you're putting your plants. You have to know where you're going to put them. You have to know that there's going to be enough room, and you have to know there's going to be enough sunlight. And that's kind of part 2 to this point, is sunlight. If you don't know where you're going to put them and you don't have enough room, then you're going to fail. But even if you have enough room, you need to make sure you have enough sunlight. If you're not getting about 4 to 6 hours of sunlight, your plants are going to be stressed. Now, the way to get around this is by using artificial light. We've done a lot of topics on this in the past. We bought just a super inexpensive grow light off Amazon. It was about 45 bucks. It runs on maybe 12 watts of electricity. It puts out the equivalent of about 150, 200 watts. It's a beautiful grow light. It doesn't look tacky, but it offers that additional light that keeps our plants alive throughout winter. It's just something to consider because you really need that if you're going to hope for success. And the final tip that I can tell you guys is once you have a plan and once you know you have enough light, start gradually. This is just the same as bringing them out, which we'll talk about in the spring. I want to do a video on the spring on how to transfer your plants outside, but you want to start them out slowly indoors. Don't move them from full sun indoors, because even indoors, a sunny window is not the same as what they're getting now. And that stress, that shock, will cause them to drop leaves and be stressed. And that is the last thing you want to start out with when you're moving your plants indoors. You do not want to start with stress. So start them out by moving them indoors for about 2 hours, moving them outdoors for the rest of the time. Moving them indoors for about 4 to 6 hours, moving them outdoors for the rest of the time. Now, if there is a threat of frost, just bring them indoors during the daytime, and obviously during the nighttime, and during the daytime move them out, because there's no sunlight anyways once it's nighttime. So if there is a threat of frost, you're going to be through that. Once you get indoors for about 12 to 14 hours of your day, and the rest of the remainder is outdoors, you can pretty much keep them indoors for 24 hours a day at that point. What you don't want to do is just do it really quickly, because like I said, they're not used to that, and you want to acclimate them. That's the most important thing as well, to getting your plants indoors and used to the growing conditions, because you have to remember the humidity is a lot different, the temperature is probably a lot different, the sunlight is definitely a lot different, and all those components play into how healthy a plant is. I've had success with less temperamental plants, moving them right indoors, no problem. It's just you have a better chance of success again. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I really hope you learned something new. If you did, make sure to give it a huge thumbs up. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel reminding you to grow big or go home. We'll see you all on the live stream November 8th, and we'll also catch you all on the next episode. See ya.